So you write in your book about the conscious and unconscious mind of a protagonist. Can you talk a little bit about that in the early stages of development? Like how do you define how much your character knows when the story starts? Because
Yeah.
it's quite, and you can go down a lot of rabbit holes in this, and I've certainly done that.
Yeah, well, generally speaking, the language system I use, I came up with is that the protagonist starts off in a state of disunity.
Yeah,
They're disconnected from key aspects of their self, the totality of their being. Or else, I mean, if they were completely in a harmonious state, like everything was, they had reached a sense of unity, then you wouldn't need a story.
right.
you know,
Yeah, yeah,
Joseph Campbell. Joseph Campbell says the whole point of the hero's journey is transformation.
yeah,
So he says, like literally, you were talking about Star Wars. He did that wonderful series with Bill Moyers, The Power of Myth. And in episode 1, he's describing the setup of Star Wars.
yeah,
And he's saying, at the beginning of the story, the hero needs to change. They're just
yeah,
making do,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So that's that state of disunity. And part of that disunity is they are unaware of, or maybe aware of, but repressing,
yeah,
suppressing, or
yeah,
ignoring, or avoiding, actively avoiding. More often, it's just stuff that they're not consciously aware of. And that the journey is about going inside and discovering that stuff and then realizing, oh, that that feels authentic. I mean, they're not saying this, but that feels
yeah,
authentic. That feels real to me.
yeah,
I'm aligning myself with who I should be. This is where Jung, he talks about the theory of individuation, which is where our task psychologically as individuals is to get in touch with all aspects of ourself and then process them, integrate
yeah,
them. It's a process of integration, right?
yeah,
They're in a disintegrated state at the beginning and they move toward wholeness, was what Jung called it, not unity.
yeah,
So a lot of it is about when I have my students at the very beginning of the process. We're going to discover these disunity elements. We're going to look at the protagonist and find out ways in which they are disconnected from who they should be. And those
yeah,
disunity elements can be 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 dynamics. A
yeah,
lot of these how-to books, I guess, I don't read them, but, I work with, people who have read them. They
yeah,
say, well, what's their flaw? What's their
yeah,
wound? Like there's one thing, right?
yeah,
Yeah, well, they have flaws and wounds. That's all part of it, but there's a lot of stuff going on there. And so you zero in on that, and now you understand that becomes the fodder for your story.
yeah,
Now there's another aspect to this, which is that as part of the character development process, I invite the writers to get in touch with their own subconscious,
right,
and by
yeah,
by thinking of the characters that they exist in their story universe. And so I have them do exercises where it's like they do like a meditation type thing, like a
yeah,
stream of consciousness or a monologue where they're just allowing the character free writing for 10 or
yeah,
15 minutes. Just put your fingers on the keyboard and just go. And you got the character in your head. It's like Vulcan mind meld from Spock.
yeah,
You're in their head, they're in your head, and then you just type, 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 and boom, 15 minutes later, you're done. You look at it, and a lot of it doesn't make any sense, but there are
yeah,
going to be these gems, these specifics that are like, wow, that just seems so weird and random and specific. I don't, where did that come from? Well, then you go back and do another exercise, which you're interviewing the character. I'm a psychiatrist. They're my client, my patient. And so I'm going to say, does this image of a chocolate milkshake spilled on the kitchen floor mean anything to you? Does
right,
this image of a yellow kite against a thunderstorm mean anything to you? And
yeah,
often they'll say, oh, yeah, I remember that as a kid. And that was the time that you do this process back and forth where you're working with the characters, you're getting in touch with that stuff. The best writing is subconscious writing, I think. And that's why I
yeah,
tell my students the
yeah,
first draft the first draft, you've got to, just like Obi-Wan, go with your feelings.
yeah,
You write every scene from a feeling
yeah,
place. You feel your way through. It's a journey of discovery. Give yourself
Yeah.
over to the characters, get in touch with what they're feeling, where they are in their psychological journey. Every scene, you do that in that first draft just to feel your way through it. And you know you're going to rewrite it, but you got to get in touch with that stuff. It's not this needs to happen on page 25 and that needs to happen on page
Right.
55. That's just programmatic formulaic writing. No, you get to know the characters and they drive the process. There's
Yeah.
a natural flow of moving from disunity to unity for those type of stories. That psychological journey just influences and impacts and creates that plot.
Yeah.
So yeah, subconscious, unconscious, all that stuff is like hugely important, not only just for understanding your characters, but for the writer to get in touch with that stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. When I'm writing, I just get into a flow, and it's that flow state of writing, and it's the best feeling.
it's great. It's the best feeling, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. And yeah, it
God,
always.
just the clock is 3 hours. Where did that go? The time go?
Yeah.
How did it? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. That's great.